The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday in the Riv. And another exciting...
Hey, at least the sun was out a little bit this morning.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to get one day without rain this week, so...
well, I know it's supposed to rain tonight, and it's going to be 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, it's like the end of February, beginning of March.
I know.
It was really raw. Actually, they said, somebody told me, I didn't see it on the news, but somebody called, one of our regulars
told
me that there was snow in Western Mass.
Yes, there was, and and up in Maine.
Oh well, Maine. Well, you get up in northern Maine. That's like being in Canada anyway.
Right.
So you got to expect a little bit of cool weather. But yeah, it's crazy weather. Hopefully we'll get at least a week of spring before we go right into the dog days of summer.
Well, I mean, we're 2 weeks away from Memorial Day weekend, so.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what that weekend's going to be like, because it hasn't exactly been cooperative with holidays and
I know. Yeah.
weather.
But, you know, there's a lot of action going on, but in Fall River, it's like, we got the same. We have the article on the Fall River police officer named in lawsuit is on paid leave for separate use of force incident. So, you know, that stays in the news because they just made a settlement. So they may have another settlement on the horizon, or there may be other issues that may go to. There is a criminal case, I believe, and but you know, again, we have a situation where we don't know all the details, and it's difficult to it's difficult to ascertain. You know, the only you should never assume anything, but the only thing we know is that normally, if there's a settlement in a claim, there is some basis, because people don't normally settle. The city, you know, well, then again, you know, maybe that's not true either.
Well,
because we're dealing with the city. So people will sue the city anyway because it's their tax money they're trying to get back, and it's their tax money that's paying for the lawyer that's litigating against them. So it's all their money, so it's really irrelevant.
Exactly.
So that's the thing about this kind of stuff.
The interesting thing about this is it's a Fall River police officer, Michael I don't know how they say that. I hate
mispronouncing people's names.
It's
yeah.
Pessoa. I don't know if that's Paseo or
Paseo. I don't.
Like that.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I dislike my name being mispronounced.
But you're a Camaro.
No.
A Camaro.
No. Actually, that car was named after someone named Camaro. They won a contest years ago. But no, what disturbs me more is when they say camera.
Yep.
You know, I don't take pictures.
You're a Kodak.
You know, and there's no E in the name. How they got camera, you know, it's obviously, again, you know, they're a little deficient in reading and phonics. But then again, in today's society, virtually anybody under the age of 30 is deficient in phonics. So
well, look at it this way. They think you're a Kodak brownie.
That's it. But
no, instead of him being investigated this time by Office of Professional Standards, Major Crimes investigated him, and they turned over what they had over to the district attorney's office.
Well, that's well, you know, like I say, you
so
can't.
This is a little different.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. Well, I mean, you know, all these things are not, you know, they're not good indicators. But then again, we all know that outcomes are not necessarily predicated on indicators, and you know, the reality is that. You know, these things, if major crimes investigated it, maybe professional standards took a step back because they had just did an investigation.
Well, yeah, because this officer was involved in the case where the settlement was reached.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean, so this is two cases. I mean, what's the old saying? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
Yeah, unless George Bush says it, then he doesn't know what the, and he doesn't know how to finish it. But yeah, no. But look, it's going to be again, you know. But then, look, everybody complains, and that's what disturbs me about you know, how people are. You know, the rules do only apply to people they dislike, or people they don't care one way or another about. If it's one of their friends, they'd be screaming about due process. But the fact is, everybody's entitled to due process, including this police officer. And, you know, apparently he's getting he's getting a lot of process. Major crimes, now it's going to go to the DA. I'm sure he will have an attorney. So he will have his, you know, he will have due process. That's the only, you know, these incidents are regrettable at best. And the issue here is that the only good thing that comes out of it is most of the time under the, you know, in these situations, there is a process, and you do get your due process, and you do get your day in court. Ultimately, your fate will not be determined by public opinion, which is a horrifying, you know, prospect. So,
especially at Fall River.
We'll see what happens. And then, I guess, this thing, Westport creates fines for stealing beach rocks, and update.
I had to bring that up because people do go, and you know, people are complaining that, well, they're gonna find my, you know, little Johnny who needs some shells and rocks for his school project. It's $250. That's not what the nature of this was about. What was happening was, I don't know if it was the beach officer or the harbor master or whoever it was witnessing people pulling up with pickup trucks and loading the rocks from the beach into the pickup trucks so they could do landscaping cheaply. So they want to assess a $250 fine for taking the vegetation or the rocks. And the vegetation is because the winter berries, you know, the red winter berries, they see those around all the time at Christmas time. People go down there, they pick them up, and then they're destroying the beach. They're destroying the character of the beach. So,
yeah. Well,
remember when you go to Horseneck Beach this season, bring your checkbook if you're going to take rocks home.
Yeah, well, it says beach committee members. I guess they mean member, actually, because they stipulated one name. Sean Leach drew some comedic moments on the town meeting floor when he displayed pictures of people taking beach rocks, and also went over some of the excuses for why people were taking rocks, especially from Rocky East Beach. And they also, but I like to see towns in action, because towns you can affect. There sometimes if you have some activists, you can actually get something, along with approving a recall initiative.
Imagine that.
Yeah, and saying no to craft cannabis co-ops. They made quite other moves, and passing a record high operating budget. So at least that's one thing about, you know, smaller communities, that, you know, if you get a few activists in there, they can have a dramatic effect on outcomes, unlike at the city where, you know, the Clowncil just nods their heads and just passes, which segues into our next one. Again, we talk about that tax breaks.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Merrow Manufacturing, which is a sewing machine manufacturer, they're also expanding because they made a bra, a comfort bra, and there are a few other things they're expanding into. They bought the building in March. And supposedly, I guess there was taxes owed on the building, and it was liquidated by the bankruptcy court. Now, according to what the city wants to give them, this is not a TIF per se. This is a special assessment tax. It's a special tax assessment.
It's a euphemism for a TIF.
Right, it's a euphemism.
So, another euphemism. Yeah, well, if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's a duck. It's not it is not an emu.
Right, and the thing is that this is the first of its kind in Fall River. This is the first time it's ever been done. So under the agreement, TIGIR, I guess Tiger, LLC will be exempt from paying 100% of property taxes owned on its Bedford Street property in fiscal year 2020. It will then gradually pay larger percentages of its tax bill over the course of the following 4 years. 25% of the bill in 2021, 50% of the bill in 2022, and 75% of the bill in 2023 and 2024. In exchange for this tax break, Tigger LLC has pledged to create new jobs and invest $15 million in partnership with the Mass Technology Collaborative in its Bedford Street facility. They've pledged 300 new jobs, by the way.
Yeah, well, they pledge a lot of things, and that's the problem. Look, what did we say on the last show? We said, how many TIFs have we given out over the last 10 years, and when has our unemployment rate ever not been at the top of the unemployment list in the state of Massachusetts? This is crap. I mean, you look at the other story. I guess this guy is the resident reporter assigned to all these stories. There's everything about job expansions, job creations on the horizon. They all got this, you know the old promise. I guess we're going to have one to add to the checks in the mail. Yeah. We have jobs on the horizon. Now, we have another article posted May 6th at 3:32 p.m. by Peter Jasinski, who actually wrote all
these TIFs.
All four of these articles.
Yeah.
Written about job expansions and TIFs and whatever euphemism, special
tax assessment,
special tax incentive, or baloney. Now, this article that was posted on May 6th at 3:32 says local companies have pledged to create at least 30 new jobs. I have a pretty good memory. Matter of fact, I have a very good memory. Didn't I read an article on the last show that said that one of them said they were going to promote 25 jobs?
What happens is one of the facilities...
But let's look at that number. If you read that, that means all the rest of these companies and all the rest of their subsidiaries and whatever kind of BS thing little incubator companies they create, or whatever another buzzword they're using now, they're only going to create 5 total jobs in addition to those 25 jobs. I mean, this is absolute crap. We saw what happened in Amazon. Amazon was going to create thousands of jobs. Not 25, not 300 projected jobs, thousands. How many people do we have working at Amazon?
There's 900
Fall River,
people.
Yeah, and how many Fall River residents?
I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, and I'll bet you it's under 100.
Probably is. It probably is. But the thing is that TIF for that, that's Holliston, I think it is the name of them. That's for Raw Seafoods LLC and Ice Cube LLC or Ice House LLC. And they're going to create in total 32 new jobs. And this is where this money is going for, to expand their buildings, to give them more space. Now, if I want to expand my business, I've got to pay for it. In the last round of TIFs, it was to make apartments. I have apartments. How come I can't get a TIF to improve my property?
Yeah, well, give something to the mayor's funds. Maybe you'll get something in there. And, I'll go talk to our crack financial team who still hasn't figured out all this stuff is giving more money to people who have millions of dollars.
And that's what they're doing.
And look, forgive me, maybe I've negotiated far too many contracts. I'm pretty sensitive to numbers, especially when they change. 30 new jobs, 32 jobs, 25 jobs, 300. They're throwing numbers around and nobody knows anything. And the end result is, are these jobs lasting jobs? What did we say on the last show? Sewing machine sewing machine? How long do you think a sewing machine company is going to stay in the United States, period? We did, the definition of insanity, we did that once.
Exactly.
When I grew up, there was a sewing shop on every corner.
And a sewing machine mechanic everywhere.
And I lived across the street from the Shelburne Shirt. I grew up in that entire mill complex. The Shelburne Shirt, Stella Ann Frocks, I can name them all. And actually, Ed Lambert's father was a sewing machine mechanic. Little bit of trivia for you people. Ed Lambert's father was a sewing machine mechanic in a Shelburne Shirt. That's what he did for a living before his son became mayor and made him a sewing machine instructor with no degree at Durfee, sewing machine repair. So, look, we've tried that. It doesn't happen worldwide. When you have these low-skilled jobs, these companies come in, make a couple of fast bucks, operate at a lower rate, and as soon as their operating costs get elevated to the point where they need the third world labor, they're out of here. You know, we are not going to have low-tech manufacturing jobs in the United States ever again. No company will do that, even assembly line workers. Why do you think the auto plants moved to Mexico? Because you can get somebody on an assembly line to stick a door on in Mexico for about $10 a week. That's why most of the plants went down there. And these companies are still getting tax breaks. They're complaining about the tariffs. They signed the NAFTA agreement. You know, when are the people of this country going to wake up and realize that all they ever do is take care of the rich and subsidize the people who don't want to work? And it's you, if you work for a living and pay taxes, it's you that's getting run over. You might as well just lay under a tank like they did in Czechoslovakia and let them run over you, because that's what they're doing. But you keep electing these pinheads. I mean, this is just ridiculous. You know, I look at this stuff. How many times have we seen this same dance? Our great financial team telling us how this is going to really, oh, look at this is tremendous economic development, a sewing machine, 30 jobs, 300 jobs. We've got no workforce. There are 10 million jobs in the United States not being filled because people aren't trained. Educate the workforce. Educate the workforce. Don't give people who are millionaires TIFs, because that's what we do. We give pharmaceutical companies tax loopholes and breaks. We give big business tax hole and give them breaks while they're making millions. They're complaining. What was it? Night before last, I watched a member of the Rhode Island Senate, I believe, could have been the House, but I think it was Senate, complaining about how they're going to, you know, the mayor of Woonsocket gave an entire year's worth, they paid with taxpayer money for an entire year of police details for the Port Sox.
I remember hearing about that.
Did you see that? Did you hear that one?
Yes, I did.
An entire year. And he didn't tell anybody till now, then when he got caught.
Right.
And when he got caught, being the politician that he is, he didn't say, well, I'm really sorry I used the taxpayers' money, because the senator or rep said multi-million-dollar owners of this company are getting police for free, like what? The Holy Ghost Feast?
Yeah, just like the Holy Ghost Feast.
Just like the Holy Ghost Feast. Getting it for free, making millions of dollars, and a taxpayer takes it on the chin, and he said, well, I thought that if I was nice to them, they'd stay here. Well, there you go. There goes your genius idea. They don't care about you. They don't give a damn about the taxpayers of Woonsocket, just like these companies don't give a damn about the taxpayers of Fall River. They're going to be here as long as you're giving them freebies, and when you stop giving them freebies, they're going to look for another place where they're going to get freebies. That's why the Port Sox will no longer be the Port Sox.
They'll be the Wool Sox.
All the free police details.
Didn't do it.
And all the King's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
That's right.
Because Humpty Dumpty is only interested in getting away with not paying. So
Don't affect my bottom line.
If you haven't figured out yet, and I tell you, if you haven't figured out yet, you got to get rid of them all, because I mean it's getting worse, because they do not, now they don't even pretend to do anything. They make deals with the tax. You think he went in front of the city council of Woonsocket and said, you know, I'm gonna give him free police details? No, he didn't say anything till he got busted.
Right.
Oh, you know, I did it because I thought that might make them, you know, stay. No, it didn't. It didn't. How many other deals did you make? You know, and on every level. What are we talking about in Washington? This morning I turned on the TV, Tlaib's at it again. You know, talking about how she felt and I'm paraphrasing, how she felt peaceful when thinking about the Holocaust, because our ancestors, the Palestinians, they gave them a home. And then in the next breath, I see a Democratic representative, congressman, trying to justify it again. What is this, the 27th consecutive anti-Semitic remark she made? Oh, it's not right to take it. It was out of what's out of context about that? If you or I said that, we would be up in front of a federal judge for a hate crime to say that, to use the word peaceful, a peaceful feeling when thinking about the Holocaust is just, it's reprehensible. I mean, these people, they are religious extremists, her and Omar. And extremists do not belong in our government. They just don't belong there. People who say that, you can disagree with policies on every country, but these people, they just consistently, and what disturbs me more, look, they are what they are. It's just like right-wing religious Christians. There's no excuse for someone who calls himself a religious person to kill somebody like right-wing extreme Christians do to doctors who work in an abortion clinic. You're against abortion, work against it. Outlaw it. Okay, they're doing that. And they do it every day. But there's no reason. And the only people that do that are extremists in every religion and in every political view. Left-wing extremists and right-wing extremists, there is no place for extremism, because extremism breeds extreme and unsocialized behavior, because they are nuts. They're crazy. I mean, look, I can think up a better adjective probably, but the reality,
I think that one says it right off the bat.
Let's just call them what they are.
Yeah, exactly.
They're wing nuts. These people that are too far in any direction. It's like the people that don't want to walk on a grass because grass might be hurt by it or something. Extremism in anything is the Greeks had it right about 4,000 years ago when they said moderation in everything. I'm not saying that you can't have strong views on things and certain things that you feel are important issues, but this radicalism, especially religious radicalism, there have been more deaths in the world
in the name of God.
In the name of God than for any other reason on the planet. Greed, oil, you name it, I don't care. You take all the lives that have been taken, even not only against other countries, but just look at the Christian religion. Look what happened, the Inquisition. Anybody that had a scientific view was executed. The Salem witch trials. I mean, the Crusades, we can go on forever. The Irish Republican Army, the Orange Men versus the Catholics in their own nation, under their own nationality. I mean, this doesn't belong in our government. And then the excuse making and the double standard. You and I can't say anything like that. We have to be politically correct to the extreme. Otherwise, we will be accosted. But you get somebody like that, that's reverse discrimination. I hate to tell you this, people, but they're racists. And when you allow them to speak that without being frank about, you can't speak that way. We can't stop you from thinking that way. But you cannot articulate that, especially on a national stage. You are part of the United States government. Every time I get on the TV now, I've got to tie my hands so I don't throw something at it. And I got a nice big TV.
What was interesting was last night I watched on Showtime. Was it Showtime? I think it was Showtime. Yeah, it was. Cartoon President. Have you ever seen it?
No, I mean, I've seen commercials for it.
It's funny. It really is funny. It really picks on Trump in the lightest way. But not only did they do that yesterday about his Moscow Trump Tower Moscow, as it was called, he was having all kinds of problems with it. but they talked about our friend AOC and how she has all these people behind her. And Schumer and Pelosi were like, we can't do that. We'll piss off our, our supporters. And, how is our friends going to do things? And then Pelosi and Schumer said, maybe we should become Republicans. And she says, we can't do that. We don't have the guts to do anything. Which I said, that says it clearly.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I'm looking forward to on Showtime, since you mentioned Showtime? They got a series coming out next month about Boston, Charlestown.
Yes.
With Kevin Bacon. It looks good. It's going to be probably the Billy Bolger era. And it's about a prosecutor tying up with a cop. And if you remember the role that Kevin Bacon had in Mystic River with Sean Penn, which is a really good movie about Boston and about Charlestown and Dorchester, which have all been Irish, bastions of at one time. So looks like a pretty good series. And some of these series are actually good because they're not afraid to show, the raw nerves of what really happens. And, but when I look at stuff like this, it disturbs me because, we cannot move in any direction when both sides are so radically agenda-oriented. You can't get anything done, and then we have some people in there who I truly believe, and it's my opinion, and thank you, First Amendment, I truly believe are dangerous. We have some dangerous people serving in the Congress of the United States right now.
Oh, there's no question about that.
And it's just not good for the nation.
And the worst part about it is you have the congressional leadership on both the House and the Senate, which are defending some of their statements, which make it worse.
That's what disturbs me because it's reverse discrimination. It was like when they dropped the passing exam to 35 on an entrance exam for firefighter many years ago when I was on the job, in an attempt to have affirmative action. Is that truly affirmative action? There were men who got 100 on an entrance exam and could have been great candidates. And they were passed over for people that got 35. So if you got a brain surgeon, do you want a guy that got 35 when he got into medical school rather than a 70 to pass the exam? Or the number one neurosurgeon that graduated from your college? Listen, I am a firm believer in making sure that education is allowed for everybody. But I do not believe in discrimination of any way, shape, or form. Reverse or standard discrimination, because when you allow accommodations that do not maintain the necessary criteria to get a job, you are watering down the candidates and jeopardizing, in this case, public safety, and they even did it in medical school. I know somebody who had to go to medical school in Germany because he couldn't get into a medical school in the United States.
A lot of people are
because of the quotas they mandated on medical schools at the time, and he became a doctor, which is pretty impressive because when you think about becoming a doctor is pretty impressive to begin with, but when you become a doctor in a foreign language. You took the medical course in a foreign language.
You're doing pretty good.
You did damn good. But like I said, it's not, I'm not saying everybody should compete. There should be no sexual discrimination, gender bias. There should be no bias at all. Take a test like a blind study. Take a test with a number. That number gets the highest mark. Take the 3 highest marks and interview them.
Why would we want to do that?
Yeah. Well, like I said, remember, your tax dollars at work, every one of these TIFs means more taxes on you.
That's right.
Because these companies are not paying a dime for 5 years.
And if you didn't read the Weekend Flush, please read it today because I talked about these TIFs in the Weekend Flush, and it's important that you know what's going on. And when I'm writing that thing on a cell phone, that wasn't an easy task.
And remember one thing. We are coming into an election cycle. You have an opportunity next November.
to hopefully change the face of Fall River.
Change the face of Fall River.
Have a great day. We'll see you on Wednesday. Stay angry.